Please like the video and share it so that it reaches many more people and you get sawaba, or rewards from Allah. This could be a sawabe jariyah or continuous reward for you long after you are gone.
Volume 7, Book 65, number 343. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. I used to accompany Allah's apostle to fill my stomach, and that was when I did not eat baked bread, nor wear silk. Neither a male nor a female slave used to serve me, and I used to bind stones over my belly and ask somebody to recite a Quranic verse for me, though I knew it, so that he might take me to his house and feed me. Jafar bin Abi Talib was very kind to the poor, and he used to take us and feed us with whatever was available in his house, and if nothing was available, he used to give us the empty, honey or butter, skin which we would tear and lick whatever was in it. Volume 7, Book 65, number 344. Narrated by Anas. Allah's apostle went to the house of his slave tailor, and he was offered a dish of gourd, of which he started eating. I have loved to eat gourd since I saw Allah's apostle eating it. Volume 7, Book 65, number 345. Narrated by Abu Mas'ud al-Ansari. There was a man called Abu Shu'aib, and he had a slave who was a butcher. He said to his slave, "Prepare a meal to which I may invite Allah's apostle along with 4 other men." So he invited Allah's apostle and 4 other men, but another man followed them, whereupon the Prophet said, "You have invited me as one of 5 guests, but now another man has followed us. If you wish you can admit him, and if you wish you can refuse him." On that the host said, "But I admit him." Narrated Muhammad bin Ismail. If guests are sitting at a dining table, they do not have the right to carry food from other tables to theirs, but they can pass on food from their own table to each other. Otherwise they should leave it. Volume 7, Book 65, number 346. Narrated by Anas. I was a young boy when I once was walking with Allah's apostle. Allah's apostle entered the house of his slave tailor, and the latter brought a dish filled with food covered with pieces of gourd. Allah's apostle started picking and eating the gourd. When I saw that, I started collecting and placing the gourd before him. Then the slave returned to his work. Anas added, "I have kept on loving gourd since I saw Allah's apostle doing what he was doing." Volume 7, Book 65, number 347. Narrated by Anas bin Malik. A tailor invited the Prophet to a meal which he had prepared, and I went along with the Prophet. The tailor presented barley bread and soup containing gourd and cured meat. I saw the Prophet picking the pieces of gourd from around the dish, and since then I have kept on liking gourd. Volume 7, Book 65, number 348. Narrated by Anas. I saw the Prophet being served with soup and containing gourd and cured meat, and I saw him picking and eating the pieces of gourd. Volume 7, Book 65, number 349. Narrated by Aisha. The Prophet did not do that, i.e., forbade the storage of the meat of sacrifices for 3 days, except he did so that the rich would feed the poor. But later we used to keep even trotters to cook, 15 days later. The family of Muhammad did not eat wheat bread with meat or soup to their satisfaction for 3 successive days. Volume 7, Book 65, number 350. Narrated by Anas bin Malik. A tailor invited Allah's apostle to a meal which he had prepared. I went with Allah's apostle to that meal, and the tailor served the Prophet with barley bread and soup of gourd and cured meat. I saw Allah's apostle picking the pieces of gourd from around the dish, and since then I have kept on liking gourd. Volume 7, Book 65, number 351. Narrated by Abdullah bin Jafar bin Abi Talib. I saw Allah's apostle eating fresh dates with snake cucumber. Volume 7, Book 65, number 352. Narrated by Abu Uthman. I was a guest of Abu Hurairah for 7 days. Abu Hurairah, his wife and his slave used to get up and remain awake for 1/3 of the night by turns. Each would offer the night prayer and then awaken the other. I heard Abu Hurairah saying, Allah's apostle distributed dates among his companions and my share was 7 dates, one of which was a hashafa, a date which dried on the tree before it was fully ripe. Volume 7, Book 65, number 353. Narrated by Abu Hurairah. The Prophet distributed dates among us, and my share was 5 dates, 4 of which were good, and 1 was a hashafa, and I found the hashafa the hardest for my teeth. Volume 7, Book 65, number 354. Narrated by Jabir bin Abdullah. There was a Jew in Medina who used to lend me money up to the season of plucking dates. Jabir had a piece of land which was on the way to Rumah. That year the land was not promising, so the payment of the debt was delayed 1 year. The Jew came to me at the time of plucking, but gathered nothing from my land. I asked him to give me 1 year respite, but he refused. This news reached the Prophet, whereupon he said to his companions, Let us go and ask the Jew for respite for Jabir. All of them came to me in my garden, and the Prophet started speaking to the Jew, but the Jew said, O Abu Qasim, I will not grant him respite. When the Prophet saw the Jew's attitude, he stood up and walked all around the garden and came again and talked to the Jew, but the Jew refused his request. I got up and brought some ripe fresh dates and put it in front of the Prophet. He ate and then said to me, Where is your hut, O Jabir? I informed him, and he said, Spread out a bed for me in it. I spread out a bed, and he entered and slept. When he woke up, I brought some dates to him again and he ate of it and then got up and talked to the Jew again, but the Jew again refused his request. Then the Prophet got up for the second time amidst the palm trees loaded with fresh dates, and said, O Jabir, pluck dates to repay your debt. The Jew remained with me while I was plucking the dates, till I paid him all his right, yet there remained extra quantity of dates. So I went out and proceeded till I reached the Prophet and informed him of the good news, whereupon he said, I testify that I am Allah's apostle. Volume 7, Book 65, number 355, narrated by Abdullah bin Umar. While we were sitting with the Prophet, a spadix of palm tree was brought to him. The Prophet said, There is a tree among the trees which is as blessed as a Muslim. I thought that it was the date palm tree and intended to say, It is the date palm tree, O Allah's apostle, But I looked behind to see that I was the 10th and youngest of 10 men present there. So I kept quiet. Then the Prophet said, "It is the date palm tree." Volume 7, Book 65, number 356, narrated by Sahi. Allah's Apostle said, "He who eats 7 ajwa dates every morning will not be affected by poison or magic on the day he eats them." Volume 7, Book 65, number 357, narrated by Jabala bin Suhaim. At the time of Ibn Azd Zubair, we were struck with famine, and he provided us with dates for our food. Abdullah bin Umar used to pass by us while we were eating, and say, "Do not eat 2 dates together at a time, for the Prophet forbade the taking of 2 dates together at a time, in a gathering." Ibn Umar used to add, "Unless one takes the permission of one's companions." Volume 7, Book 65, number 358. Narrated by Abdullah bin Javar. I saw the Prophet eating fresh dates with snake cucumbers.